Welcome everybody to Seth and Sean Sports radio show. I guess we're Seth and Sean Sports show at this point. I'm not really sure that we're a radio show anymore, but we're here on StreamYard, Seth Kamens and Sean Palmer. And good evening, everybody. You got it right. That way. No, that way. You got it right. Today is Seth giveaway day. He's going to give away all of his predictions about the NCAA basketball hoops and what's going on there, because the next 2 weeks Sean is pretty much just manning the ship. As next week we're doing our World Cup preview, of which I'm saying, if I know next to nothing about the NCAA, I know absolutely nothing about the World Cup. So is the U.S. even in the World Cup?
We are.
We are. Yay! Okay. Well, that's good. We had the announcement last night, right?
We did.
I didn't know if that was the players for this year or for 2 years from now. Like, I didn't think that you would establish a World Cup team so late in the process. Does that make any sense? Wouldn't these guys have been playing already together?
I'm not sure what your question is.
So they named the World Cup team last night, right?
Okay.
I'm asking. That's correct,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Wouldn't the World Cup team that's going to play in like 3 weeks,
yes,
wouldn't they have already, like, the basketball team's named a year in advance? Like, wouldn't they be wanting to practice together as a team? Like, or are they just naming the starters and the reserves? How does this work?
Well, they've been practicing together. Remember, they had to qualify. So they brought in all sorts of people for qualification over the last 2 years.
Okay.
And then some people got injured. Some people, they just weren't playing as well. And with 3 weeks to go, a month in advance, the teams have to name their 26 players or 22 players, whatever it is. So, I mean, I'm not really sure what the big surprise is.
Well, I guess the surprise is that wouldn't those 20 I guess the 11 players would have been playing together for a certain amount of time instead of for a month.
Yeah, but these guys have been playing together I mean, look, you can't, because they all have their leagues. I mean, guys like Christian Pulisic and Sergino Dent and Gio Reyna, they're playing in the European leagues, which go from September to June.
Right.
So they have a summer break. Now, there are weeks that are off so they can play for the American team or because they're in the Champions League or whatever it is, but they can't. They have the continuity, but that's all. The continuity is never there. That's why the World Cup is not considered great soccer. The best teams in the world are not the World Cup teams. They're the Bayern Munichs and the Man Cities and the Liverpools and stuff like that, because they have continuity.
Okay. And yet the dream team was the best team of basketball of all time, but that may be just because of the competition rather than their.
There's a little bit. I mean, look,
you only got 5 guys as opposed to 11. That probably plays a little bit into it, right?
Yep.
Basketball is just a different sport. No, I get that. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why Seth does soccer, because every single year we have this conversation about money in soccer and divisions in soccer, and it just goes way over my head. But
can we talk about money in baseball? That's more your style.
Do you want to go there first with free agency predictions?
No, let's spend some time quickly on the NCAA basketball.
Okay. I think Patrick Ewing is going to win a game this year. That's my prediction.
Is Louisville going to win a game this year?
Louisville will win a game this year.
They lost to a team I've never heard of. The Bellarmine Knights last night.
Ewing lost 21 straight games. So, I mean, yeah, and finally beat Coppin State. So, and he beat your guy, Juan Dixon, at Coppin State. So, I mean, once again.
In overtime.
Right. So, all right. So, who are the teams that we're looking at here at the top echelon? Is it the same Duke and UNC? UNC, I believe, is ranked number 1 going in. Kansas, right? What are we looking at here?
Well, we're looking at Carolina, I think, first and foremost. I mean, that's the consensus number one, led by Armando Beckett. They have a lot of their players back. Hubert Davis is really done, I think, better than anyone would have anticipated coming in. They get the transfer Pete Nance coming in. Caleb Love is back. They're the number one coming in. Does it mean anything? Absolutely not. Kentucky's should be better. I mean, coming off the abomination of St. Peter's. I actually gave a presentation at St. Peter's University. My God, is that place small. It is smaller than a high school gym. It was amazing to see. But you look around, Gonzaga is going to be Gonzaga, especially with Jacob Timme coming back. Houston's going to be good. Duke without Krzyzewski, but they have Jeremy Roach. They brought in the freshman superstar Derek Lively. I mean, there's Arkansas has a bunch of freshmen led by Nick Smith. There's a lot. It's one of those years. There's no consensus this year.
Okay, so if there's no consensus, who are the player of the year candidates? Who are we looking at as a person that could take over? Who's the Adam Morrison of this year?
Well, I mean, I think you can start in Gonzaga based on Adam Morrison with Jacob Timme.
Yeah.
Who was, I think, runner-up for player of the year to Oscar Tuibe from Kentucky, who's also back. They'll be right there. I think Marcus Sasser from Houston, University of Houston, if he is healthy, because he was one of their best. Marcus Sasser. If he's healthy, we'll be right there. Trying to think who else.
I mean, I'm looking through the AP top 25 here, and look, the first two teams, North Carolina and Gonzaga, make sense, right? Houston has been there before, and they're number 3. But once you get out of the top 7, you're looking at teams that generally are not there, and like beyond that. And I'll start with UCLA, because UCLA is generally not there. They have the name recognition from the 1970s still, but they're not generally in the top 10. And then you look at Creighton, Arkansas, Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee's been there under Rick Barnes, but yeah.
Indiana making a comeback. San Diego State, who has had very good years in the past, but here we are. Alabama. Alabama's not a basketball school. Like, what the heck are they doing there? And then Texas Tech. You obviously have your Michigans and your Virginias and your Arizonas there, and Nova as well. Nova's the interesting one to me. No Jay Wright for the first time in 20 years. And more than Krzyzewski obviously was planned. Jay Wright was not, at least not by anybody else. And here we have Kyle Neptune, one of the great names in college basketball to me. Kyle Neptune coming in. And I don't know anything about this guy. And
he was their assistant coach, and then he was a head coach at Fordham for like a year.
Okay.
Because and jumped in when the opportunity arose. Look, they'll be good. They have, I'm trying to think, they have the freshman Cam Whitehead, who's going to be a one and done. They're Villanova. They're never going to be out. They're never going to be out of discussion. They're just a good team.
And their conference really is not great this year. I mean, no. They obviously have Creighton, right? And they have Butler. But other than that, I don't see any really top quality teams in that conference.
Well, wait a minute. We don't know what Seton Hall's. It's too early to tell. And this is not a year. And we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Thad Matta is now back at coaching at Butler. Actually, the coaches are more interesting than the teams this year.
Yeah.
You have Sean Miller back at Xavier. You have Shaheen Holloway at Seton Hall. These are big name coaches that are coming in. There's no real feel, I don't think anyone has a feel for where this is going this year. There's
no I agree. And there are lots of different coaches in lots of different spots, right? And there generally are. I won't.
That was not the most profound statement I've ever heard.
Lots of different coaches in lots of different spots. Well, lots of new coaches in different spots.
Probably
new coaches in different spots, right? And this all comes down to the changing of the guard due to NIL and how look, Jay Wright got tired of it, right? I mean, that's the only reason I can see him leaving. Krzyzewski got tired of it. That's the only reason I can see. Roy Williams said he got tired of it. Like, he was point blank, he got tired of it. And now you have some of the older coaches. Calipari's not going to get tired of it because Calipari benefits from it. Yep. But you got guys like, and I'll throw it right out there, Jim Boeheim, where you're kind of like, how much longer is he gonna coach? And our schools, we've talked about this in football with the NIL. I think it's just as much in basketball. Is parity ever going to be there again? Because of this type of NIL, you look at University of Miami, and they literally paid $500,000 for a player, and then had a player say, you know what, unless I get a better NIL contract, I'm leaving. I'm not sure if he ever left. I don't think he did. But that's the beginning. This is not going away.
No. But if you're talking from a football perspective, and what's his name, John Ruiz, who spent, I think it was $8 million on NIL for Miami players, you do realize they lost 45-3 to Florida State this weekend. And I believe it's 6. Under their $80 million new coach, Mario Cristobal, who left a team in Oregon that got whipped in the first game, is 1-8 in a row, and I believe is now number 4 in the BCS, in the college football playoff standings. So just because you're paying players doesn't mean they're worth it. I disagree, because I look around this, and Carolina's a favorite, but maybe. Okay. No one thought Carolina was very good going into the tournament last year.
Sure.
They got hot at the right time. Gonzaga has been very consistent, but Gonzaga is certainly not an NIL, is not Kentucky. University of Houston is not an NIL, is not Kentucky in that regards. I mean, Kansas is going to have it, and now you have Bill Self, who, after like 5 years of investigations, is taking a 4-game break against the Sisters of the Poor for 2 weeks. So I'm sure those are the teams that they're playing.
But we did like the company of Bill Self for the 10 minutes.
We met him. He couldn't have been nicer.
Couldn't have been nicer.
Maybe he'll go back to visit the Basketball Hall of Fame during his 2 weeks off. But I don't really. I think you'll still have parity. I mean, I also just don't think. Look, who is the best person who graduated high school? Where is he playing?
The Ignite, I would think, right?
Scoot Thompson. Yeah. He's playing in the G League. So I don't think the caliber is as good, but I don't think you're going to have domination here.
All right. So let's talk about some of the conferences. AAC, Houston is obviously the favorite there, being 3rd overall. Is there anybody else?
They're led by Kelvin Sampson, and then Marcus Sasser is their big player if he's healthy. He's coming off injury. Memphis always has
what we should be looking at here.
Well, Memphis is always fun. I mean, they're a fun team to watch. Like, they have an incredible amount of talent. It's just a question of whether they can put it together, like they did against Gonzaga in the final in the second round last year.
Sure, and they're led by Penny Hardaway. They lost to Bonnie Bates this year, who went up to Eastern Michigan.
Right, but he didn't really do anything for
No, them. Understood. Is Jaden Hardaway Penny's son? No, can't be.
Maybe. I mean, Penny's like 50 years old.
Yeah, he's a senior on the team. My Lord. That would make me feel very old. I mean, I am very old, but that just makes me
everything feels very old.
That just makes me feel even older. Okay, Cincinnati. Any dice with them this year? They always bring an interesting team, but
they'll be honest, I don't know a hell of a lot about them this year. They usually, they typically play incredibly tough defense. That's the way they've been since the Huggins days. They have a couple players, but there's nothing there that I'm looking at saying, damn, this is a team I'm going to be really scared. They're that 8-9 seed that'll inevitably make the tournament that nobody wants to play. and they'll lose 60-56 somewhere.
I gotta tell you, I'm scrolling down these conferences, and I knew the ACC had 16 teams. I've known this for a while, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the A10 has 16 teams. Like, these are huge, massive conferences, Seth. And I'm not sure if that benefits the conference itself to have that many teams, or it's a detriment. And the A10 having that many, I mean, I should have known this, right? I mean, I know if you told me, hey, what conference is Richmond in, I knew they were the A10. If you told me what's Duquesne in, I knew it was the A10. I didn't know Fordham was in the A10. Like,
Fordham's been in the A10 for years.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't know. I knew St. Joe's was. I couldn't tell you probably that George Mason was in the A10. I remember them being in the CAA, right? I mean, so I don't know anything about the A10 other than Dayton is 24th overall. So I assume that they're number one in that conference. But
they lost their best player. Malachi Smith, I think, was at Dayton. And he transferred. I think he was at Dayton, and he transferred, I think, to Gonzaga, I believe. They have a good coach in Anthony Grant, the old Alabama guy. Like, their team was 2 years. The Obi Toppin team was that team, which unfortunately because of COVID didn't really get to. That was the team a couple years ago, which had a legitimate shot. Excuse me. Loyola Chicago has been a good story over the years. But it's harder. It's just harder to follow these teams. I love how you make me the expert on this because you don't want to talk about it, but we both know that I am not the expert anymore.
Well, and I think part of it is, number one, there's 16. There are so many teams. That's number one. Number two is the players don't stay. Yeah. And number three, when the players do stay and they become good at these small conferences, they transfer to a bigger conference. And they transfer to a bigger stage, right? So nobody stays anywhere. This is like Major League Baseball free agency if you had everybody on 1-year contracts. It's not only hard, but it's hard to even watch because you're not sure who's on your team at any one time.
Right. It's just not that much as much fun as it used to be.
No, you're rooting for a school rather for that. Excuse me. You're rooting for the name on the front rather than the name on the back, which is what you should be doing anyway. But it's more so now because you're not sure who the name on the back is.
Right. It's just more difficult.
It's just more difficult. Okay. Moving on to the ACC, we have Duke, we have UNC, we have Virginia, the normal compatriots. Louisville, we saw a loss. BC sucks. Notre Dame will always be there at the end. And look, we'll be a bubble team for the 25th straight year. And we might make it in and make a run, and then we might not make it in at all. So I didn't even wear a Syracuse shirt today. I got to tell you, I'm rooting more. I have more interest in the football team right now than the basketball team as we play Florida State this week. And yeah, I mean, it's nice to have a football team for once.
Look, Miami will be decent. I mean, they made a nice run in the tournament last year. Like you were talking about that whole thing with what's his name? Nigel Pack coming from Kansas State, and Isaiah Wong was the one who was not thrilled about all of this. But yeah, I mean, the ACC. Look, I don't think the ACC has been anything particularly special in basketball for a while. Virginia still has the point guard Clark, who's been there since. It feels like forever.
He's like Kevin Putznagel. He's been there for 20 years.
There you go.
By the way, you know what Putznagel does now, right?
Isn't he a teacher?
He's a history teacher.
Yeah,
a 7-foot history teacher. It's awesome. Okay, Big 12 conference may be the best conference in basketball.
I don't think it's maybe. I think they're the best conference in basketball.
Yeah, Baylor ranked 5th, Kansas ranked 5th, TCU at 14, Texas at 12, and the Red Raiders of Texas Tech at 25. Tell me something about Texas, because I got to tell you, Shaka Smart's no longer there, right?
Right. That's what do you call it? That's
Chris Beard. It's Chris Beard. Hey, you're surprised I knew it was Chris Beard.
I'm surprised you've heard of Chris Beard.
Hey, he was the Texas Tech coach before he was the Texas
That's
coach.
Right. Took him to the national title game.
That's right.
I think what you're looking for is you're looking around. This team, this league is just smacked with talent.
It's also a small league.
It is.
That's part of it too.
It's the Big 12 with 10 teams. It makes all the sense in the world. And
Big 10 with how many teams?
Look, you saw TCU give Arizona everything they could handle in the Sweet. I forget it was the second round. In the second round,
yeah,
with Mike Miles coming back, Keontae George is leading Baylor. Baylor is going to, Baylor's become a perennial top 10. Texas has had a weird run. What's his name? Beard comes in. They lose that strange game in the first round of the tournament, but they had a lot of freshmen and a lot of seniors, a couple 5 stars coming in, a couple transfers, one from Iowa State. Marcus Carr is still there previously from Minnesota. They're good. Texas Tech is just a defensive monster under Ron Adams, and Oklahoma State really solidly coached under Mike Boynton. It's just a good conference.
And soon to be entering Brigham Young, University of Central Florida, University of Cincinnati, and the University of Houston, which I think basketball-wise they win, and football-wise they get killed.
Losing. Sorry, I lost my connection for a second.
Oh, they're bringing in BYU, UCF, University of Cincinnati, and University of Houston in 2023. So that's next year.
And supposedly they're going after Gonzaga. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Like University of Central Florida in the Big 12, that makes no sense. Gonzaga makes no sense. Right. I get Houston. No, it's survival of the fittest right now. It's attaching yourself into a conference so you survive. That's what this is all about. And the conference that may have the least chance of surviving is the ACC.
Starting to look that way, especially after the contract. I think it's still the Pac-10. With UCLA and USC leaving, it's still probably the Pac-10.
Okay, we're going to skip the Big Sky and the Big South Conference.
Fair enough.
I don't think you can name more than 4 teams on either one. You want to try? Big Sky?
Big Sky is Montana.
You got 1?
What is it? Eastern Washington? Is that Eastern Washington?
2. Well done. 2.
Oh, wait a minute. No, that's Idaho and Idaho State. There's your 4.
You got 3. Well done. 3 and 4. You could have said Montana State, too.
Okay. Also, I think Northern Arizona was there because they played Cincy in a 2-15 game years ago.
They are the Lumberjacks. Well done.
There you go. And there's one more because they beat North Carolina with Harold the Show Arsenault. That's Weber State.
It is. So the only ones you missed were Sacramento State.
How the hell did I miss Sacramento State?
I want to know how the hell Sacramento State has a team because
I wonder how Sacramento State has a college.
Well, that's my point, right? Sacramento is not a state. Sacramento is a city. So you missed Sacramento State, you missed Northern Colorado, and you missed Portland State. Again, I don't understand. But okay, Big South, give me 4.
Charleston.
1.
Campbell.
Actually, Charleston is not 1. Forget that.
Okay, is that Campbell?
That is Campbell.
That's Winthrop. It's Winthrop also.
2.
It used to be Belmont, but they left.
Nope.
And Radford's there?
3.
I think that's all I know.
So it's Charleston Southern, not Charleston. I'm just saying, Sacramento State is not Sacramento. You got Longwood, where I don't know where that is. Gardner Webb, I thought you would have gotten. That was the one that I thought you would have had. UNC Asheville, South Carolina Upstate. I give you no points for that. And High Point. Where is High Point?
North Carolina. Actually, a good friend of mine's son goes there.
Oh, okay. I think you'll know 4 teams in the Big Ten, so why don't you preview the Big Ten for me?
Big Ten is going to be horrifyingly bad. Bad.
Okay. They have 3 ranked teams.
Yeah, probably Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan's there only because of Hunter Dickinson, nothing more. Indiana got everyone back. They have the potential player of the year in Trace Jackson Davis. I don't know if anyone is really convinced on any of these teams. Michigan State is always tough because they're Michigan State. But it's not a good season. It's just not a good look for this season.
All right. Moving on to the next. Can you give me 4 teams in the Big West?
Big West. UC Santa Barbara.
1.
UC Irvine.
2.
Jesus. Long Beach State's typically, as I think,
3.
is there. And Hawaii's there.
4. You could have named 3 teams from Cal and 4 teams from UC. UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, UC Riverside, UC San Diego.
Are we going to go through every conference and see if I can name 4 teams?
I think that's an excellent idea.
Go to what was
the
good.
Colonial Athletic Conference, the CAA. With
is that where
George Mason.
Is that where Charleston is?
Yes, there's 1.
Who else is in the Colonial? Drexel's in the Colonial.
2.
You're right. Mason's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
UNC Wilmington.
3. You want a hint?
William and Mary's there.
William and Mary. I thought you might get Hampton or Hofstra.
I thought Hofstra was in the MAC.
Nope.
What the hell is Hofstra doing in the Colonial?
What the hell are any of these teams doing anymore?
Fair.
All right. Ivy League, do you want to just pick a team?
Princeton.
All right, there you go. Let's go for the MAC. What do you got 4 in the MAC?
Well, the MAC is not Iona, Niagara, Siena, Canisius.
Yes, good job. Okay. How about the MEAC?
That's the what do you call it? That's kind of it's the HBC for the most part.
No. This is the Mid-American Cup. Oh, no, MEAC, you're right. MEAC is the HBC. Yep.
Yeah, so that's Bethune-Cookman and Howard and
Bethune-Cook is not in the MEAC.
Norfolk State is in there, though.
Nope. Oh, yes, Norfolk State. You got 1.
Coppin State's in it. Morgan
2.
State's in it.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 8 teams in the MEAC.
I named my 4. I'm good.
What about the Mid-American Conference, which is the MAC?
Oh, that's like the Central Michigan and Akron and Toledo and Kent State.
Well done. Wow, that was quick. Okay. Missouri Valley.
That's Wichita State. It used to be Wichita State.
No, Wichita State.
So that's Bradley and Drake.
Yep, 2.
That's Northern Iowa.
Yep, 3.
That is.
What you got, Kevin? 1 more.
It's one of those weird Missouri teams. There
is a weird Missouri team.
Northern Missouri or
Missouri State.
No, that one I didn't know. Oh, Southern Illinois is in there.
Yes, as is Valpo and Murray State.
Oh, I should have known. Murray State's in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like. They've all changed.
The Racers.
Yeah, but they weren't in there previously.
All right. So who's going to win the Pac-12? As I come around to conferences that matter.
UCLA. Done.
Is this the last year? They're not moving after this year, are they?
No, I got another year after that.
Another year.
Yeah, they're led by Tiger Campbell. Jaime Jaquez is back. I think Johnny G's. That's a Final Four team.
All right, give me 4 in the Patriot League.
Holy Cross, Lehigh, Lafayette, Bucknell, Colgate. Yeah.
You got it. Colgate. Well done. All right. The SEC.
I can name 5.
Name 4 teams. I'm saying it's Kentucky and everybody else, right?
They're the favorite.
Is Tennessee a challenger? I mean, obviously
I don't know enough about. I'll be honest. I don't know enough about Tennessee this year. They lost their number 1 the freshman Chandler. He went to the pros. Rick Barnes has done an amazing job with that team.
Yes.
But yeah, typically they're top 10 to 12.
By the way, we're talking SEC. I'd like to point out that this week is the week that Ole Miss beats Alabama.
Good for you, buddy.
I believe that will happen. Okay, give me 4 in the Southern Conference.
Grambling?
No,
that's not.
no Grambling. This one I don't think you're going to get 4.
Is the Southern Tennessee Chattanooga?
No. It's Chattanooga, so I think that may be.
Okay, so it's Chattanooga, Furman, and VMI. That's all I know.
Furman, VMI, yep, and the Citadel. Okay. We'll skip that conference. Give me 4 in the Southwest Athletic Conference. You'll know
come
these.
on.
No. You'll know these.
Is that Southern and Grambling? Yes,
it is. Give me 2 more.
Okay, so this is the historic black teams also then. So this is probably going to have some, not Howard. We already said Howard. It's going to be, that's kind of the A&Ms. That's Florida A&M. That's Alcorn State.
Yep. It's also Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman.
That's where they wound up. Okay, I won't ask you the Summit League, although you might know this. Go with the Sun Belt. Give me 4 from the Sun Belt.
That's Appalachian State.
Yes.
It's Troy.
Yes.
I think that's where Georgia Southern ended up.
Yep, 3. Wow.
Marshall.
The Thundering Herd. Well done. Look at this. All right. The West Coast Conference. We all know Gonzaga is going to win this conference, right? For the umpteenth.
Yeah, why are we even discussing?
Right. Okay, give me 4 from the WAC.
Well, that used to be easy.
Yeah, it ain't so easy anymore.
No, now it freaking starts with Grand Canyon.
That's 1.
The only 2 I know are Grand Canyon and Stephen F. Austin. I don't think I know anything else.
Sam Houston.
Oh wait, New Mexico State's there.
Yes, and Sam Houston. So well done. That was actually well done. I applaud. I am not worthy. Well, I am worthy, but I'm not worthy. Yeah. So overall, that was our NCAA basketball.
That was the worst preview in the history of college basketball. That was absolutely awful.
It was, but you know what? We had fun with it. So why is it awful when we have
because
fun?
We're going to lose all our advertisers.
Who's advertising? All right. So last week we cut off a little bit with our NFL and fantasy football and all the other stuff. But first, let's go down our Major League Baseball predictions. I think with free agency starting, where are these guys going to wind up? So let's go with the first one, and with the Mets re-signing Edwin Diaz to a $100 million contract for a reliever, which I don't quite understand, with an option out after 3 and then an option for a 6th. I'm just like, yeah. But it's Uncle Stevie's money. So what do I have to say about it? You need a bullpen. Let's first start. Where does Aaron Judge wind up, and how much money is he getting? And when does he sign? That's the best question. When do you think he signs?
I don't know when he signs. I mean, I'm going to say the Giants, 8 years, 320.
So $40 million a year for 8 years. Okay, I've been saying the Giants for umpteenth months now. I think he gets a full 9 years. I think he gets $37 million a year. So whatever that averages out to, 9 times 37, $333 million. So just short of what Trout got in total. But Trout also did it over 12 years. Okay. Jacob deGrom.
think you probably have a better feel on DeGrom than I do. I'm gonna say he stays. I'll say 2 years, 70, 75 million.
So here's the thing. There was a report a couple of days ago, and it was a prognostication. It wasn't a report. They just cut out the bottom that said prognostication on Twitter. And it said that he signed for 3 years and 135 million from the Rangers. So 45 a year. And
he hasn't pitched 45 games in 3 years.
And I did, Seth, but I didn't blink. I was like, I actually said, I cursed and said, okay. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he did that. It wouldn't at all surprise me if he went to Texas. That is the only team I can see him going to, if it's not the Mets. I think
is he a Texas guy, I'm assuming?
No, he's not a Texas guy. He's actually from Florida.
Then why is Texas the fit?
Because
the team is nowhere near. They're not.
Texas needs pitching and we'll pay him. That's the fit.
Okay.
That's the fit. I do think he does resign with the Mets, though. I think he does get 120 for 3 years. I think they give him the guaranteed third year, and he gets 40 million. Okay. Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander.
Kershaw either resigns or retires. I don't think he pitches anywhere else.
Okay. Verlander.
Would I be? He's kind of in the Max Scherzer mercenary mode player in my mind. I can see him signing a 2-year deal with a team, not the Yankees, but a team like the Yankees.
Oh, I could see him with the Yankees.
Yeah. I don't think Houston resigns him at the price point he wants. I can't see the Dodgers going after him. Maybe he does sign with the Yankees, 2 years, 80 million.
I was saying 2 years, 84, actually. I think he gets 42.
Okay.
No, I mean, that's what I was saying. 2 years, 84 million. Okay. Brandon Nimmo.
I mean, that's I can see him going to a bunch of teams. I can see him resign. Do you want to resign him?
I would love to resign him. I don't think they will. I think he's the guy that gets away.
But he gets what, a 4 or 5 year deal?
I think he gets a 6 year, 125
120,
million.
130,
125 million with Colorado.
Okay.
And he's their center fielder. Okay. I'm not going to ask you amounts. I'm going to ask you teams. You got 4 shortstops. You got Trey Turner, Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, Darby Swanson. Where are they landing?
Bogaerts goes to Atlanta.
Okay. So that means Swanson's out of the job.
Swanson just doesn't seem like he wants to be in Atlanta. So that's
he's from Atlanta, right?
I know that.
Yeah.
But Atlanta doesn't seem.
No, I would agree with that.
I think Minnesota makes a big run to keep Correa.
I agree with that. I'm not sure they get him, but I think they
do. But I think they're going to make him a legitimate offer to try.
Yep.
I think the Dodgers re-sign Turner.
I don't see that at all. Okay.
You don't think so?
No. So
you think the Yankees are going to make a run at Turner? Or you think the Mets are going to make a run at Turner?
I think the Yankees will make a run at Turner. If anybody's going to make a run at Turner. I think you're right. I think Bogaerts winds up in Atlanta. I think that's the one that I think definitely happens. I think Trey Turner winds up in Seattle.
Okay.
And Correa stays in Minnesota. And then where does Swanson go, right? Where is the place for Swanson?
Well, what's a team that desperately needs a shortstop that's going to pay 210, 220 over 7?
Boston.
It makes sense.
Or the Yankees.
It feels weird watching Bogaerts and Swanson switch teams, but
yep, I agree with that. And Swanson's going to get the least amount of money.
He's still going to get 25 to 30 a year, I would think.
Probably. Anthony Rizzo going to be back with the Yankees?
I think so.
3 years, 48.
3-year what?
I said 3 years, 48, 3 years, 60.
I was going to say 3 years, 60.
Okay, what about Wilson Contreras, the catcher? That's a Yankee guy. Like that screams to me Yankees. And I don't think he wants to go there. Like, I don't see that as a fit. But the Yankees could sure use some offense from their catcher.
I'm laughing where I think he could end up.
Not with the Yankees. Where?
The Cardinals.
Yeah.
They lost Molina.
Cardinals got money.
And they lost Molina. It's just weird to see a Cub go to the Cardinals.
Yep. Jose Abreu, I think, could wind up with the Mets.
I could also see him going to the Padres. I don't know if they have any money left to spend, but they don't have a first baseman, really.
Well, are they going to re-sign Soto? Because if they do, they're not going to have any money to spend. I mean, that's a lot. And then we're looking at like second-tier pitching, and there's not really much there. As far as
Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, Carlos Rondon. I think Rondon, if DeGrom is gone, the Mets signed Rondon. If DeGrom stays, I think Rondon goes to Texas.
I think the Yankees make a run at him also.
I agree with that. Look, the Yankees are – look, we've talked about this ad nauseum. The only way that the Yankees are going to bolster any type of team next year as a favor is to spend money. Because there's no minor leaguers there.
No, there are minor leaguers.
No, I mean they
have Volpe. They brought up Cabrera. They have Dominguez. They have minor leaguers. They have no middle.
Right. Dominguez.
They have no contact hitter. Their team is a dumpster fire.
Dominguez is 2-3 years away. And
I understand that. You said they have no. Like they're a middle of the tier farm league.
Are you willing to trade Dominguez in a trade? Is he untouchable?
No. But I don't know what the right play is for him.
Well, the right play is Shohei Ohtani. That's the right play.
Yeah, if you're going to get Ohtani, but you're only getting Ohtani if Judge goes to San Francisco. Correct. You're not signing Judge and Ohtani. Correct. You'd have $1 billion outfield.
You'd have the Golden State Warriors. I mean, at the end of the day, right? I mean, yeah, if he stays with LA, they'll have $1 billion, outfield there, right? Between him and Mike Trout. So the thing about Trout is that he has 5 and 10 rights. So he can't get traded without his permission. But I do see Mike Trout leaving LA in the next 2 years. I don't think he's going to stick around.
I can see that. They haven't been able to build the team.
Exactly.
And if they trade Ohtani, they're not going anywhere. So,
and if they trade Ohtani and Mike Trout says, I want to go to New York, I can definitely see Mr. Steinbrenner ponying up for that. 100 times out of 100. Okay. We have a decision to make tonight in our fantasy league. And we don't normally have these decisions because our team is readily good. But tonight we have a decision. So, and since we haven't been able to talk all week since Seth's been on vacation, we're going to have that discussion right now. We have to pick a flex player. Do we pick Deontay Foreman, who plays tonight against Atlanta? Brendan Ayuk, who plays the Chargers? Robert Woods. I don't think Robert Woods is a consideration.
Robert Woods is not in the discussion.
Or Tyson or Algier against the Carolina tonight as well. It's one of those 3 guys.
I don't really want to start Algier because Cordell Patterson is back.
Okay.
Deontay Foreman seems like who's our number 2 running back right now?
We have Kamara and David Montgomery, and Montgomery plays against Detroit, so we're going to play Montgomery.
Okay, so we're playing Montgomery. Then I'd probably go with neither you nor I are particularly comfortable with where San Francisco is right now with their receivers.
Correct.
So I'd probably go Foreman.
Okay, and then our receivers this week are Debo, Cooper Kupp, and Chris Olave.
Okay.
I love our receivers. We have a kicker on a bye week that scored us 17 points last week. Yay, Nick Folk. And we have 2 bye weeks for for defensive players. And all the guys that we had on IR have come off. So we're going to have to find a way to massage our roster. And I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do that, but we'll figure it out. We might have to drop Benjamin or even Alligator, given what he's done. But we'll figure that out in a couple. So Giants are back from bye, right? They won the bye.
Home against Houston.
Home against Houston. A win, I would think, probably. Yeah. Hopefully Davis Mills does something, but a win. The Jets come off probably the biggest win that they've had in 5 years, maybe 10, in beating Buffalo. Go into the bye at 6-3. I got to tell you, Seth, if you told me that the every single week the Giants and Jets, if you combine their roster and you said, would you have been surprised? Every week, I'd be surprised. Both of these teams are going to make the playoffs.
That's what it looks like. It is yeah.
They'll both be incredible underdogs in the playoffs, in my opinion, but they will both make the playoffs. It is strikingly hard to fathom that both of these teams are actually in a playoff run.
It's ridiculous. And
Kenny Golladay has nothing to prove, by the way, if you saw that quote today.
I did not. I have
absolutely nothing to prove. Now, since last week, there has been one thing that has occurred in the NFL that we need to talk about. Daniel Snyder is in a lot of trouble. Not that he wasn't in trouble before, but today the AG in Washington D.C. By the way, Matt Stafford did not practice today either. So that's another quarterback that we may not have. I think this may be our week to take the loss, my friend. It's like we don't have anybody playing. But, yeah, today the AG of Washington, D.C. comes out and says, you know what, you guys covered up the Beth Wilkerson investigation. You got being the Washington Commanders. Did I say Redskins? I'm not even sure if I did. The Washington Commanders. And we are fining you under consumer protection, or we are investigating you under consumer protection. This guy can't leave quick enough. Like it is. I am shocked he's still in the league. I am shocked he is still doing what he's doing. But I think somebody whispered in his ear last week to get the heck out. And the sale will be done, I believe, if I had to opine, by the end of the NFL season. I can't imagine it wouldn't be. Like, this is, or at least you'd have
I think it'll be done after the season. I don't think it's going to be, it's too hard to do during the year.
How much?
2 to 3 billion.
Wow. Only 2 to 3?
It's the stadium is not in DC. They have a depressed fan base. I don't think it gets what Denver gets.
Oh, I think it gets more than that. I think you're looking at 6. I think you're doubling what you got.
Well, we'll see.
I think that market is, you're right. It doesn't, the stadium sucks, right? We've established that. The market is depressed, but the market is there. You have enough friends that are Redskin fans that I said it again, Commander fans, that if and when Daniel Snyder, the only thing that's inhibiting them from rooting for this team is Daniel Snyder. So once he's gone, if Ted Leonis bought this team, first of all, they'd move downtown in about 10 minutes, or at least they'd start construction.
Yep.
And and their fan base would be totally amazed, right? And they'd have a fan base again. I think you're looking at more than Denver. I can't imagine an NFL team selling for less than the last NFL team. Like
what was the Denver was like
5.6.
Yeah, I guess the 2.2 or 3 billion seems low.
Tepper bought the Panthers 5 years ago for 2.3.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So probably around 5 or 6 makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going. Okay, we got 5 minutes left because we got to stop at 5:02. What do you got, my friend?
Poor Brittany Griner. I mean, my God. She's now in a penal colony in Russia, not to be seen. There's nothing, no one can find her. There's nothing anyone can do. I'll tell you, between that and the Daniel Snyder, and we haven't had the play, and Kyrie in the bringing in of supposedly bringing in of Udoka until all the negative press kind of killed that. It feels weird being a sports fan right now. Plus the whole thing with Twitter where people can just randomly be other people now. Thanks, Elon.
Yeah, Connor McDavid said he was being traded to the Islanders last night. So, but I'll go one further. Shame on the Boston Bruins.
Oh, horrendous. Horrendous.
You want to talk about awful PR. You want to talk about the wrong way to handle your business. My Lord. There's a reason this. So for those that are unaware of what happened because you're not hockey fans, Michael Miller was drafted in the 4th round by the Arizona Coyotes.
I think it was Mitchell Miller.
Oh, Mitchell Miller, excuse me. In the 2020 draft. He was drafted 111th overall. After he got drafted, he got suspended from school in 2016. Miller and a classmate were found delinquent in an Ohio juvenile court for assault and violation of Ohio's Safe Schools Act. They were accused and found guilty of deceiving a developmentally disabled African-American classmate into eating a piece of candy that they had wiped in a urinal and had repeatedly bullied him and called him numerous names that I will not repeat on this show. We repeat some curse words on this show. I will not repeat that word. It is not a word that comes out of my mouth. So the Coyotes draft him. PR says all of a sudden this comes to light again, right? Because it's come to light numerous times. Yep. And under public relations, they release him, which was probably the right thing to do at the time.
Yep.
2 years goes by, and the Bruins say, oh, we got a good guy. This guy has made amends. This guy has totally said, I'm sorry, and done all the things that he needs to do. That's a bunch of crock. He apologized because the Bruins told him to go apologize. That's like me. That's like my mom saying, say you're sorry. That's like any parent saying, say you're sorry. And you say you're sorry. You're not really sorry. You're sorry because you want something. Yep. And he had said to him on Instagram, I'm not doing this because of hockey. Another full of crap statement. This guy, look, I thoroughly believe in second chances. I do. For almost anything that happens.
You know my feelings on second chances.
I do. For almost anything that happens, I think we are a forgiving society. I truly do.
I do not. I don't.
But you actually have to repent. You actually have to say you're sorry. You actually have to put forth the effort.
You saw the Instagram that the kid Isaiah posted, right?
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Everything about this situation is horrifying. But the most horrifying thing is that Boston didn't do any due diligence. That's the most horrifying thing. And so did you know that they can't release him, right?
I did not know that, actually.
Under the player contract, they can't void the contract. They can release him and pay $900,000.
Oh, good for, you know what?
Exactly. And with that, we'll say good for that. Right. That was I give up. Anyway, for Seth Kamens, who's over there, I'm Sean Palmer over here. Next week, we're going to do a more extensive preview into the World Cup because Seth will know what he's talking about, and I still will not.
And Sean will be the anchor.
I will be the anchor.
Everybody.
Have a good weekend.